I'm with the Sober Curator, and it is my absolute pleasure today to get to talk to Jenny Teeters. Jenny is a certified international executive and life coach. She is a certified Clarity Catalyst instructor, a wife, a mother, a podcast host, and now an author. So, hello, Jenny.
Hello, that's a mouthful. I'm so happy to talk to you, Lisa.
Thank you, and thank you for being here. I know it's always interesting when we're trying to write bios about ourselves and kind of introduce ourselves in a nutshell, but those are kind of, the main things, but I know there's so much more. Is there anything else you want to share just about you and introduction wise, I guess?
I will give a huge plug to Sobriety, because before then I could say that I have a graduate degree or a 30-year career in IT as a corporate professional, but the rest of those things have all come have all
After the
come
fact?
after the fact, after hitting rock bottom, finding my new place in the world, and then reaching for the stars. Um,
Yeah. And I mean, as you know, I'm in recovery too, 10 years in, 10 years sober. And it's been such a journey. And I found that I've reinvented myself. But part of the joy of this life that we get to live is seeing other people and how they reinvent themselves. And sometimes it's just such a stark contrast. And that's why I really love the title of your book, Every Day is a New Day, right? A story of faith. And so I think it plays perfectly into what we go through as sober people in the world. I'd love to hear just kind of how you came up with that title.
oh, thank you. I do agree that yes, we have this whole new chance at life. And I was working with an executive coach because I have many ideas. And from Gallup Strength Finders, my number one strength is achiever, but that also
Mhm.
bites me in the behind because I want to achieve all my dreams at the same time, which means I
Right.
peanut butter spread myself and don't make a whole lot of progress. So I was working with a coach. And it just had like popped out as we were talking. And she said, "Okay, that came from you." So it was interesting how it just came about. Every day is a new day as the title of the book. But I definitely early in my career have been influenced by Stephen Covey.
Mm,
I used his planners for a long time. I read the book. I followed all the principles, and I love just the metaphor of you turn the page in a new planner or you
right.
turn the page in your journal, and it's fresh and it's new, and kind of yesterday is gone. And then I also
That's
recently heard something that said, whatever recovery we have, it has about a 72-hour shelf life. It was a meme I saw on social media. So yeah, we can start
isn't
over,
that
but we better
so
put
true?
put recovery like on the first thing we write down on our to-do list.
Yeah, absolutely. We are not guaranteed, right? So you said something interesting, and I know that you are a certified coach, and but you yourself were working with a coach. And so that to me is very interesting because sometimes, even in sobriety, if we've been doing it for a long time, we think we have a lot of the answers, but there's always more to learn. And being coached by a coach when you're a coach, uh, that's just kind of an interesting idea. So obviously, you see the benefits in it. Is there anything that you can share about maybe why you decided to work with a coach and maybe how that helped you and how it could help others? I mean, there's so many ways, but sobriety and writing maybe in particular.
Yes. Well, two things I really needed were accountability and support.
Mm,
So I'm a life coach. And then because I have a business background, then a lot of people gravitate to me because they want some help with
right.
their business, entrepreneurs and so forth. But we all have places we want to go and dreams we want, dreams that we have, and we have obstacles that stand in our way, coaches included. And so I was assigning myself what I wanted and to do every 2 weeks. And then, she was essentially there waiting for me at the end of 2 weeks to see how did I do. So that is exactly how the book got written, because it had been
Mm,
an idea for a long time. And then I had an outline. And then when I started to work with her, we focused on the areas, all my ideas, but the areas that were my priorities. So then when I would want to like veer off the path and take an exit to the right or to the
right,
left,
right.
she'd say, remember, let me just go back to our first session, and these are your priorities and what you wanted to get done. So she helped me from derailing myself, but also
Mm,
I had accountability to move forward. And I think a lot of people think that coaches are there for advice, like they're going to tell us what to do and what our lives should
right.
be like. And it is a lot more, we already know. We know what holds us back, and we may need some help facing it. And then we know what our dreams are. And sometimes we need permission to shed some light and get excited about them. So
Yeah,
that's why I
that,
definitely needed someone to see my dream and to hold
mhm.
that vision for me when I was, you know, like I said, taking the exits along the way.
Well, I think that's very practical in one, if people are deciding why they need a coach, but two, like what to look for when they're searching for a coach and maybe what goals need to be accomplished. Because I mean, when I think, we all know, and you shared about your rock bottom and your journey to sobriety, but when I was drinking, I couldn't really do much besides just get up, go to work, figure out when I'm going to get to happy hour, drink all night, and then do the same thing, right? Like there wasn't much time for hopes and dreams and realizations of our life's goals and dreams of, there are things that I'd been wanting to accomplish since I was a child. And now, once you get sober and you have this time and you have a clear head, it's kind of like, okay, do I go over here? Do I go over here? Do I go, what do I do first? And so that is very valuable, I think, to have someone to help you hone it in, I guess.
Yes, yes. And I've worked with coaches who were really, they seemed more like parents, like a sort of a parent-child relationship. Like you need to do this
Right,
and you need to do that. And that is not exactly what well, that rubs me the wrong way as as an alcoholic in general.
right.
Defiance, rebellion. I'm like, don't tell me what to do. So to have someone open up space for me to say what I want to do, I mean, I dig that.
Absolutely. And I mean, you also mentioned it is inside of us. And so that's kind of, a really cool concept as well, because we have everything we need. We just might need somebody to help get it out.
Yes. Yes. Beautiful.
And if not, like training, there's always training, which I'm sure you have plenty of resources. And there were so many resources in the book. I really love that part at the end where you listed all the resources, and that's valuable. We try to do that at the Sober Curator too. And you gave us a very long list of things to add. So thank you.
Oh, I'm so I'm grateful to Wikipedia, and I'm grateful that there are so many. I had a little one mini curated page, but wow, your site is really incredible. So it's a new site to me, and I really look forward to sharing it more, because I come across so many people who, well, in the faith-based Catholic in Recovery, it's the group I am a part of. It's like general recovery. So I could be sitting next to somebody who's dealing with alcoholism, somebody else a drug
Right.
addict, next person is they're the parent of somebody who's one of those two. Many people suffering from lust addiction, sex addiction,
Hmm.
technology, finances, control, like gambling, cluttering. So
All of it.
we're all around a table. So I love that there seems to be something for everyone um, with the Sober Curator. Very
Yeah. Thank you.
wonderful.
Speaking of Catholic in recovery, I too am Catholic, and I've had a mixed journey. When I'm going on a parallel path, trying to develop my faith and also work in my recovery. And just like anything in life, I think people's reactions are going to be varied. But I've had experiences in the faith where, they don't want to talk about it. And then some churches have meetings. And so it's just kind of a mixed um, bag. I think, sometimes the Catholic Church is a little bit slow to change just because we are steeped in tradition, and it's valuable what we do, but I was very, very happy to learn about Catholic in Recovery. And I would love for you to share, just for our audience, what that is, why it's so important to you, kind of um, how that might be a resource for somebody who does want to walk their faith. Because I know in some of the rooms, it is agnostic, and for a reason. We don't get to share about our faith. We don't get to talk about recovery through the lens of our faith. And that, as a person with a strong faith, that's very important to me. So I am, anxious to explore more and would love to hear your perspective on it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yes. So I was introduced to recovery through Catholic in Recovery. So although I had gone to a couple of therapists who tried to hand me AA pamphlets as soon as, I was like, oh, they're on to me. I didn't say that I had a problem.
We think
So
nobody
that
knows,
was the
but
last time they
everybody
saw
knows.
me.
Yeah.
Yes. So it was very close to the unknown, I would say. And then the founder of Catholic in Recovery is an alcoholic and an addict, and he it started off with some blogging, and then that got very popular, and it was suggested that he write a book. So he wrote a book about the 12 steps and the 12 sacraments of the Catholic Church and how
Love it.
aligned they are. And then the meetings themselves are modeled very much like other 12-step meetings. So it looks like somebody with a binder. There's a little prayer in the beginning, some meeting guidelines. Somebody reads the 12 steps, and then the long form of the Serenity Prayer. And then the focus is more, it's not a step meeting, it's not a speaker meeting, but there's a pamphlet, which is every Sunday, recovery principles integrated with scripture.
Oh,
So
wow.
people take turns around the table, kind of reading a paragraph or two. So whatever the scripture is from the main message from Sunday's reading, but then saints, other rituals in the Catholic faith are all kind of integrated in here. So I've learned so much about our faith just going, through these meetings.
Wow.
And then at the end, there's reflection questions. So people can, answer these questions, or there's three to choose from, and depending on the size of the meeting, you might get to talk a lot or a little. But
Right.
it's, yeah, so that's how I would say it is formulated, but it's been around since 2017, and
Oh,
at the moment
okay.
there are probably over 100 groups across the country that are mostly at churches,
Okay.
Catholic churches, because somebody has come across it, thought, I want this at my church. They'll go to the pastor, they'll, start the process of asking about it. So how it came to me is the founder was a speaker at our church, and I was very active in my addiction. My disease was progressing really
Mm.
fast, that I'd lost my job, and I was volunteering a lot at church because it was
Oh,
where I
mhm.
found peace and also something to do. And they asked me to lead the meeting. So I'd never been in a 12-step meeting before. And I was like, okay, had this laminated
Wow.
sheet. These are the 12 steps. Step one. But because it was a general meeting, I was meeting people who had been in Alcoholics Anonymous for 20 years, Narcotics Anonymous for 20 years, Sexaholics Anonymous, adult children of alcoholics and dysfunctional homes, clutterers, like all the anonymouses. I was
Right.
meeting people, or people who were afraid to go into an anonymous 12-step meeting, but they felt like they could take the first step at something that was, in
Mm.
their church community. So I learned how to lead the meetings, and that is what led me to meet people. I had never met anyone who needed recovery and had gotten sober. If I didn't meet these
Mm.
people,
Wow.
I did not
Okay.
believe it was possible. I didn't know anyone. And yeah, so that was my introduction to it
That's
all.
amazing. That is
Yeah.
amazing. I really love that, because that is true. We keep it in the dark. We keep it in the shadows. And so, a lot of times we think we're the only ones. I remember we have in Dallas, where I am, we have a citywide, and it's just a meeting where everybody in the city comes. And my first one, I had no idea who all these people are. I was like, who are these people? There cannot be this many alcoholics. Little did I know, it was just the very tip of the iceberg. But yeah, I mean, we are taught in our faith and in recovery, get it into the light. That's how you heal. That's where the healing is. And I mean, I think it's so brave when people are able to share their story like you did in your book. I mean, you are very, very honest. And I think that's what makes it relatable. It helps people. And what made you, want to share so honestly and want to share right now so honestly?
Um, well, I knew on my big list of achievements that I'd wanted for a long time was to be a published author, but I didn't know what I would write about.
Mhm.
And then into recovery, doing many testimonials at Catholic and recovery retreats or other 12-step meetings. I had a chance to experience giving a 15-minute talk or up to an hour talk on what things were like, what happened, and what things were like now. And on social media, I am open that I'm in recovery. I'm not necessarily, I'm not exactly reveal everything, but I do talk
Right,
about
right,
out it so people don't have to look far to see that I'm an alcoholic who's in recovery. Or I'll
right.
post that, oh, I'm like, hey, I have a terminal illness. How about you? Like it's real and deadly. And I think it's
It is.
important to, these are things I learned in treatment and through recovery programs.
Yeah.
So I got a good response back from any shares I'd ever had. And
Mhm.
whenever I would think, okay, I'd really like to write a book, had started a journaling practice, and I had actually learned to write to my higher power and what was on
Oh,
my mind and what I needed. And then I had learned to actually take a pause and have my higher power write back to me, right? Dear Jenny. And the loving things that come to my mind when I do that were just make me tear up, like on all these journalings.
wow.
And so when I would pray, like, oh, what should I do? I have so many books about purpose, and every single one of them, I tell you, they all like lean back to what are your, kind of your God-given talents, and how can you serve other people? Like book after book after book after book, I'm looking for someone else to tell me my purpose, and my purpose is to, I believe, to help set God's prisoners
Mhm.
free of addiction. So that led me to, okay, let's see how
Let's do it.
let's see how to get started. Time to do some research on how do I write a book.
Uh, that's beautiful. I mean, I do think, serving others both in our faith and recovery is key. It's one of the pillars. It's one of the ways to get well. And I mean, I experienced that initially. I had a little nudge from the judge and had 80 hours of community service. And, it's like, woe is me until you start helping other people. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, I've got a court case coming up. But it just that you have a peace when you're helping other people. It's quite amazing.
It is amazing.
And that servant's heart is really, really beautiful. Because it was an honest share in your book. And, I know people are dealing with, so many people are dealing with just addiction and struggling. And it's good that there's something out there who can help others. So, something out there to help them.
Yes, I had spent so long concealing my feelings, concealing how much I drank, really
Mm,
presenting myself in the workplace and in the community a certain way. And that's not how I felt on the inside. So it was quite freeing
yes.
to say, okay, this is it. So, I may not be everyone's cup of tea, but there will be people who really need that. And, and the most beautiful person who read my book is we have two daughters,
Um,
and the one who read it does not believe in God, to my knowledge, but she read the book and she sent me, called me, and she was like teary eyed, and she said, I want
um,
all my professors to read this. And she said, Mommy, I said a prayer to God. Thank you for saving my mommy. So if all of this was to get this manuscript read by, my precious child who is on a path, and opened the door for her to talk to God, like, thank you.
what a gift. I mean, really, what a gift. I mean, you started thinking it's for one thing, and look at this other amazing gift that you come out with just
Yes,
by
yes.
living your truth and being honest. It's just beautiful. Um, well, okay, you kind of mentioned this, but a lot of our readers and followers are in the creative sober space. And myself included, a lot of us want to be writers, and we're just getting into that. And you have an amazing podcast where you kind of break this down. So I would encourage everybody to go and listen to the podcast. But the writing process, it can be so daunting. First up, like, do you have any just quick, helpful hints that maybe could get someone started? Besides what you already mentioned, journaling and coaching, and
Yes, yes. Why? I read this book called The Book You Were Born to Write,
mm,
which was great because it gave me the confidence, but it also had templates. Like I am an organized person. So it had all these templates. Do you want to write a memoir? Are you writing fiction? So many different resources. And so it gave me the sections. Like I knew I
oh,
wanted to write sort of in the tradition of recovery, of what happened, what life was like, what happened, but in like what the chapters would be like, I had no idea. So, there was a title like, who am I and why should you care what I write? And so it created an outline. So I
oh,
just kind of took it from that book. And the author suggested a software. So I used the software. It was like less than $50. And I
oh my
just
goodness.
started to organize the headings. And then I would see then the work ahead of me once I had an outline. And I had imagined writing so much more than I did. Like I thought, oh, I'll get a special outfit and scarf and I'll go to a cafe and order a latte. And I don't even drink lattes, but it'll look so, writer-like. And
That's
but
hilarious.
that's not exactly how it happened. It usually
Right.
happened. I met with my coach on Fridays. It usually happens sometime on Wednesday night and Thursday night and early Friday mornings that I was kind of banging out my deadline. So I needed the person who
Right.
said you're going to do these two chapters. So I would just assign myself what I was most interested in, at the time. And there were some of the heavier things were not the first things I wrote. I was like, let's do resources and
The fun stuff, right?
yes, let's do what life is like now. Um, but yeah, so and then it was step by step. So it was over a course of months that I just chipped away at the sections. So that was really it. I was inspired of how to start by just having a little bit of a framework, and then I needed accountability. Once I had the outline ready to actually get to force myself to sit down when I had someone waiting for those pages I assigned myself.
Very good. Well, I mean, I read it in one sitting. So it's an easy read, but a very helpful read, a very impactful read. And I love the way you did it because it went step by step through the 12 steps. And we just learned a little bit more about your story through every step. So I thought that was a really creative, good, succinct way to kind of get it all in there. So I really enjoyed it and I hope everybody reads it. I know we have to wrap up soon. We Do you want to tell everyone, where to get the book, where to find you, all the places, all the ways? And then I'm going to ask you the fun questions.
Okay, well, thank you so much for asking. The best way where everything is consolidated is on my website, jennyteeters.com. And there you'll find all the links to social media and also a page that links to Barnes and Noble, to Amazon, to Books a Million, and to Goodreads. So you'll find
Okay.
wherever you'd like to shop, you can use that as the hub. And there's also some fun things I've been exploring, meditations, and I also have a couple of other journal prompts. So there's some goodies there too. So I would suggest that as the place to find me and to then see what else I'm up to. Yes,
Very, very cool. Thank you, Jenny.
you're welcome.
All right. So these are the fun things we always like to ask because the Sober Curator, we say sober is not boring, and we provide lots of different resources. One of my favorite, I like to write a lot about Play It Again, which is our sober song section, and it covers like musicians and songs that inspire you for sobriety. Do you have any favorites?
Yes, my favorite song around recovery is Trace Atkins, I Came Here to Live.
Uh, such a good one. Makes me cry. All
Yes,
right.
because I totaled my car, so I just imagine that scene so well where he's upside down and
Oh gosh. Yeah. All right. Besides Every Day is a New Day, a story of faith, what other quitlet do you love?
other things I love. Well, I love the traditional things that a sponsor may, kind of a purist when it comes to our literature, but a new pair of glasses. I
Oh,
think that
good
has
one.
so many different ways to apply that in our lives, not just around our recovery, but to look at people with a new pair of glasses, to look at our situation. People say, "Oh, you work from home all day." I'm like, "Yes, these terrible working conditions."
I
So,
love working from home. Yeah.
yes,
Good one.
yes. So,
What about podcasts? Recovery podcasts.
recovery podcast and positive sobriety. And I had a really positive, positive experience, meeting Nate and Dave. And so they really are charming, and their questions are so real, and they're so understanding and honest themselves. So I do like that, because they're, I think, focused also on general recovery. We all
All right,
have
we'll have to
something.
add that one. Yeah, we'll have to add that one to our list. And then I will say the way that the Sober Curator started was during COVID. We were looking at TV and the way that sobriety was being represented, and we weren't quite excited about it. And so we decided it might be a really good thing to curate the things that we did like. And so, what about TV shows or movies?
So I'll just say my favorites. They may or not be sober, but my favorite TV show, which I watched many times before I got sober, and now I enjoy it so much more, is Vikings with
Oh, I
Ragnar
love that one.
Lothbrok. Yes.
Such a good one. God, those people had it difficult. Lots of struggles.
Yes, yeah. No bathrooms, no bidets.
Air conditioning. Maybe they didn't. Yeah.
Toothpaste. Yes. So when things are bad. And then I love the movie Fried Green Tomatoes. It's an absolute
Oh,
favorite of mine. And our family moved from California to the South. We're in this tiny historic town. So it was foreshadowing for where I was going to be living.
perfect. That's a good one. And then I'll wrap it up with your favorite quote.
My very favorite quote is by Joseph Campbell, and that is, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek." So that unknown could be getting into recovery. It could be fearing rejection, asking for help. But the treasure, yeah, the
It's
treasures in the
worth it,
cave we
right?
fear to enter is so worth it.
I love that. All right, Jenny, it has been a pleasure. I so appreciate your time, and I'm going to write the review on the book, and hopefully, I think it's a really good read. So, looking forward to having our readers hear about this. So, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm so grateful to have met you and had this chat. I do look forward to staying in communication and
Absolutely.
referring more people to the Sober Curator. What a gift. What a gift.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to end this. Let's see. How do I do this? Well, okay. I don't know how to stop recording, but I'll edit it. So,
Okay.
all right, we'll just end there. But thank you so much. It was a pleasure. And like I said, I'll be going on the Catholic in Recovery retreat. So
In
I don't know.
November?
Yeah, I don't know if you'll be there, but that's going to be really cool, I think.
Yeah, I might be. I've been to several of them, but I may go to that one. I went to the first one, which is their first women's meeting, that was in Pennsylvania in April, and then this year they have the most they've ever had
Oh, wow.
to offer. So it's just growing leaps and bounds. I'm so glad that you're going to check it out. And there
Good.
are there are probably 50 virtual meetings a week.
Oh,
If it's something
perfect.
you want to try out, because there's not one in every town. But yeah, women's meetings, all the addictions general. So if you just let me know if you need any help navigating.
Thank you, Jenny. All right. Well, I'm
You're
excited
welcome.
about that. I've got a new thing to explore.
Yes, so fun. Okay,
All right.
take
Well, have a
care.
good one. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.